Hello, my name is Dr. Richard Kaul, and welcome to 9. Today, as I sit here, I'm sitting 2 towns away from one of the most violent cities in modern-day America. Newark, New Jersey was recently ranked by an article in Forbes as the 34th most violent city in the United States. In 2013, there were 111 gun deaths, and most of these were committed against males under the age of 18. Yesterday, unfortunately, Mr. Christie, in his State of the State address, ignored this social epidemic which is eating away at the fabric of modern-day America. Before I introduce my guest, I would like to talk a little bit about my own experience as a physician. I first came to America in 1990 and spent the first few years of my training at hospitals that were dealing with an epidemic of gun violence. I got to see and experience firsthand the devastating consequences of gunshots and what they do to the human body. I would like you to take a short look at a recent CNN story by Piers Morgan, in which a physician who treated patients at the Sandy Hook disaster details what exactly happens to a human body with a penetrating injury. Please look.
Piers Morgan, weeknights at 9 on CNN.
And Dr. Begg was in the emergency room on the day of the Sandy Hook massacre, and he testified on Capitol Hill today. Dr. Begg, thanks for coming back on the show. You gave some extraordinary testimony today. You showed everybody basically how guns really work in the real world. And I want to show a little part of what you did today right now.
Looks like we have a well-placed hit. Get that out of the way. You can barely see it. There's the point of entry, and it did not exit the block. This is the right side of the block, and it's turned upside down. We just have a very narrow channel where this came in, and about 4 inches, 3.5 to 4 inches. I did notice it was approximately ½ inch deep and about a 1/4 inch wide. There's the point of impact. Didn't even knock it off the table, not even close. See how that opened up? And that's the real story. Is look at this massive cavity in this area.
And today, I have with me a young man by the name of Jason Cejour, who lived and grew up on the front line of violence in Newark. Welcome, Jason.
Glad to be here.
So, the Star-Ledger reported this morning about a recent homicide in Newark. I'd like to introduce you to my viewers, and I'd like you to, first of all, tell us about where you were born and where you grew up.
So my name is Jason Cejour, and I grew up in Newark and around many cities around Essex County, but Newark is the biggest city in Essex County. Well, I was born in Newark, Bethesda Hospital, lived in Irvington, which is the town next door to Newark, for a good amount of 7 years. Moved to Maple, which is next door to Irvington, which is more of like a suburb area instead of an urban area. Lived there for about two years. Unfortunately, that's where my mother passed away, and I continued to live there for another year or two. And my father decided to get remarried and moved to Florida. So I lived there for a good amount. I'll say 2 years, probably the end of 2007. Decided to move back to Jersey, which I moved back into Maplewood. Lived there for a few months and moved back into Irvington. And from there, my father passed away. And after my father passed away, I moved to East Orange, which I was placed in a group home because I became an orphan after my parents passed away.
Jason, can I just ask you, we're talking about different parts of the state of New Jersey. You mentioned East Orange, you mentioned Elizabeth, and we talked about Newark as well. And these are all parts of the state that are living through epidemics at this moment of gun violence. And a lot of it's related, from what I've been able to read and what I know from having lived here a number of years myself, is related to gang warfare that
Right.
goes on between different gang elements,
Right.
and it's this fight over drugs and the control of the drug trade. Would you say that's correct, or do you think that with the gang warfare that's occurring, that it goes deeper than that?
From experience, from me living in that area, it goes way deeper. Drugs plays a big component, but it goes down to money and respect. A lot of young men want respect in these urban neighborhoods, and they fight for respect by using violence.
The United States, because of its history and what people refer to as a period of its history called the Wild West, where guns were considered a normal part of any man's armamentarium. Do you think that hangover from America's gun history also goes some way to explaining what's happening in these inner cities of New Jersey?
I believe guns, that it plays a role, but not a big role, because guns don't kill people. People kill people. It's the way people's influenced by using violence and then using guns to control the violence.
Now, let me just ask you, you also mentioned a number of your friends who've been killed. When was the last funeral that you went to of one of your close friends or acquaintances?
Last funeral was in October, the beginning of October. My cousin was shot and killed in Orange, New Jersey.
Your cousin?
Yeah.
And what happened?
He was shot and killed 7 times over drugs.
You were shot 7 times?
Yeah.
It was a dispute that he'd gotten into over who controlled aspects of the drug trade.
Well, I can't really go into it because I don't really have the full background of the story. So all I know is parts of the story, and that sounds to be true. What happened? Yeah, like a big dispute.
Do you
over
think?
drugs.
Do you think that the ease with which guns can be obtained fuels those disputes that young men have for wanting respect?
Yeah, because back in the day, around like the 80s and 90s, people used to go fist for fist for respect. Nowadays, they go straight to I'm gonna go grab a gun. I'm gonna shoot them down, and I won't have to worry about them ever again. So that's the mindset they have.
Thank you, Jason, and we'd like to take a break.